Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? Welcome to the bookshop. We have a show, April 23rd. I'm going to keep on banging on about it until we fucking probably right up till the day we get there, because I'm very, very excited. April 23rd, Limelight, Belfast, Saturday night. What you doing? Book a ticket, get on down. It's in the show notes. Have a look. Get yourself a couple of tickets. Book the fucking dog sitter, babysitter. A couple of people have booked hotels. They got in contact. Well, I assume they're booking the one hotel and they're not booking a few because they're not spies or whatever. But brilliant. If you are in the greater Belfast region, or fuck it, even if you're not, I'm hauling my ass up from Tipperary for a good night, a good crack. Kieran Bartlett is going to open for me, so you know it's going to be fun. Get on over. April 23rd. Tickets in the show notes. Thank you very much. Fair play to the new patrons we got this week, and I did a release of the Ramble Pod earlier this week just to wet people's beaks. It'll be going back to normal, Patreon exclusive, as well as that video today's show, and we have a live show. We're going to have a fucking couple of drinky winkies to say good luck to the fucking winter at the end of the month, the last Saturday of the month. I think it's the 29th, but don't quote me on the number, on the date, because I'm fucking thick when it comes to those things. It is the last Saturday. We'll have a few drinky winkies. There'll be nobody recording it, so it'll be nice, loosey-goosey. Hang out in the background if you don't want to turn on the old camera or whatever. We'll have our usual old bit of crack. And I may be very drunk, because I won't have had drank in a month, which is a fucking long time for me. You know, just drying out. Pick a subject, and we'll have a fucking old nather. Now, oh yeah, would you do me a favor? You've been doing it, and people have been tagging the show, so continue to do it if you haven't. Spotify. I know you can do it on Apple Podcasts, but if you would give it a rating, please, on Spotify, screenshot as you rate, and tag the show or tag me on Instagram or wherever, you know, the TikToks. I'm on that now. That's a bit of crack. I don't know what I'm doing, but it seems to be a bit of crack. Some bizarre things have gotten really, really high numbers. I don't know, but it's all Tom O'Mahony comedy. Find it wherever you find it. The link in all of the bios will find you everything you need to know about me in the way of tickets, all the rest of it. If you're going, oh, where did he say the tickets are and you can't open it in this? They're pretty much fucking everywhere. They're everywhere. They're through Ticketmaster, so it's very easy to find. I'm the only Tom O'Mahony that's listed on Ticketmaster at the moment. Now, so if you do want to become a Patreon, that's the way to do it. Go through the show notes as well. You get on in there, get the video, and you get to hang out, have the crack. And you get ad-free early access content. So if the ads, if nothing else, give you a pain in your hole, $3 hairs. Fair play to you. Moving on to today's guest. Today's guest is a fucking rock star. She's fantastic. I met her years and years and years ago. We briefly talked about it. How very, very nice she was. There's nothing she hasn't done. She's had like 7,000 shows at the Edinburgh Fringe. She's been on every comedy television show. I swear to God, go to her website for the crack. And just go to the TV and radio bit. Oh my Jesus. I'm scrolling and you have to actually scroll. It doesn't fit on one. And I have a big screen. It does not fit on one screen. So she's an absolute legend of the game. A hell of a nice woman. And I tell you what, we had some crack. Please sit back and enjoy, like I did, the brilliant Jo Caulfield. Jo Caulfield, what an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thank you very much for coming.
I absolutely love your bear thing behind you.
Yeah, it was a weird gift from my brother-in-law. He was in Romania, and he bought a teddy. He said, "I'm after getting you a teddy bear." I said, "Okay, that's strange. You're in your 40s. Yeah. You know, I'm 40. What?" And he bought this, but it's like a taxidermy silly thing. It's all the silly things I put in my shed, basically, Joe.
So it's just a bear. It's a bear head, just.
That's all. Yeah. So it's for all the world. It's like a teddy bear taxidermy. Yeah. Kind of weird in a way, but
nice because it is actually a teddy bear. My my in-laws,
for the audio viewers.
And yeah,
Joe's eye just went, her in-laws, exactly how you imagine her eye just went.
But they sent a picture. They'd gone up to somewhere in the Highlands in Scotland. I live in Scotland and they live in Aberdeen, much further up. And it was one of those old hotels, and they're standing by a wall that is just all deer and stag heads. And they put it up all smiling. I think you look like those hideous South African hunters. Do you know what I mean? Those rich Americans that go and kill. I mean, it just looks, I was just like, and they like the nephews and nieces are young, and I was thinking, you can't put stuff up like that now.
No,
You know,
no.
like 30 heads of beautiful deer dead behind you. I mean, I know they've been dead a long time, but let's not celebrate it.
I
It was
do
weird
love
that they didn't think the same as me. I went, oh my God, that's horrific.
I love that notion. I once saw a child. It was a castle in Scotland. I was doing Edinburgh, and myself and my wife, she was girlfriend at the time, and I remember we went away for one of a midweek pop, the night off of the Fringe. We went away and we stayed in this castle, and I saw that exact scenario where they were either, I think they were grandparents or they were grand aunt or something, but the child that was with them was in tears.
Yeah.
Because they walked into this room and it was a plethora of heads everywhere. Now, again, they were fantastically done, but his kid was just, it was all her cartoon friends were just now hanging on the wall.
You just kind of go, I think we're past the time of celebrating that, I'm not saying you have to hide them, but don't go, oh, what a lovely, and they've gone for afternoon tea, but it was like afternoon tea from a horror film or something now.
I always get creeped out, more so, the heads I can deal with because they almost don't look real, but when they have like a fox mid-walk, it's like, why are you pretending inside your dad's cabinet? You're like, there's no, why, we knew he walked. There's no way. You don't have to do the walk or put something in his mouth. We get it. Yeah.
Weirdly, I was going to say, like, I think for taxidermists, they've got to go. The time is past, right? We've got Instagram, a phone. We can keep but then I did think there will be people who really love a dog or something, and then we'll get it stuffed mid-walk, like you say.
I tell you, you need to spend an afternoon talking to a taxidermist sometime. They are the strangest, they're exactly as weird. My uncle gave me a pair of antlers that he found because, they fall off. I said, these are matching and they're huge. Do you want to put... And I knew of a guy that was near where I was living at the time. And I went over to his house where he had a shed and stuff. And I went, would you put these on some timber for me? I think I'd like to give them as a gift. They're fallen antlers. This guy kept me, Joe. No, I mean, I just wanted to 2-minute a conversation. Can you do it or not?
Yeah.
He kept me for an hour and 45 minutes, walking me around his house, showing me the different animals and talking through the difficulty until he got to the crow. The crow was his masterpiece. Now, Tom, can I tell you how tough it is to stuff a crow? I'm like, this is a Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
None of us have the time for this scenario, but you're going, but you can't because it's the man's pride and joy to understand it. And he shows, apparently, he puts it just inside the door. Everybody gets to see the crow. And he's won awards for his crow. Would you believe?
If I ever meet a taxidermist, I have the perfect conversation. I go, well, not many people know how difficult it is to stuff a crow. And they'll go, my God, she knows her stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but you lead yourself down a path then. And before you know it, you're an hour and 45 minutes on a Thursday afternoon.
True.
Good God. We actually, I don't know if you remember, we technically did a gig together, not last summer, but the summer before. You were at home and I was actually in the Roisin Dove in Galway.
I mean, I do remember doing, and it was early days.
Yeah.
That they were doing it in the dub, and then it sort of didn't work.
Yeah.
The one I did one that I think was okay, and then I did one where I didn't work somehow.
Yes. Because I was literally sitting backstage drinking tea, and I was to go on after Joe, and I'm drinking tea, and the next thing, they stuck their head around the curtain. Tom, Joe's internet has shit the bed. Can you go on there now? I was like, okay. I literally walked out on stage accidentally with my tea, so I went with it. So we all waved goodbye.
I had no idea, and also to defend my internet. They said they had done something because my internet has never gone down before, so it was annoying because at the same time you don't know if they are hearing you, and you don't want to keep saying, "Oh, can you hear me?" It's too annoying. But I also think it was quite early days when people were working out how to do it all. I did another thing. This was very early in lockdown with the Roisin Dub, where they said, "Oh well," so Kevin goes, "Well, we'll just have the comics doing a Zoom chat." And it was an absolute nightmare.
Oh, that was us. We were on. It was just like kiddie play date for adults. We were all just sitting around looking at. You were admiring my kitchen. And
that was nice. I enjoyed that bit. But otherwise, it was mostly Andrew Maxwell talking, is what I believe.
It was just
and I
Maxwell.
thought, I have never walked off a gig in my life, but I'm about to leave this one.
I kept on walking away. And I'd come back again and he'd be still talking. shouting about something to do with a fridge or something. I was like,
Something
okay,
that he'd read. Yes.
this is still going. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But we did meet many years ago. I was only starting comedy, and I can't remember the name of the club, but it was a midweek gig, I think, and you were trialing material.
Oh.
It was, but like you were headlining, but you were
in England or Ireland?
It was England. It was England. I was in London for a week. And do you know when you start new and you meet somebody and you're like, I hope they're cool. You were the nicest person I'd met all that week. You were so nice to me and polite to me. And in London, everybody's and you're at gigs, nobody's kind of talking. You're just all just kind of, but you, of course, you were as cool as a cucumber, and you were just so polite. When you just take away, you're like, cool. She was as cool as I was hoping she was as cool.
Good. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. Well, manners cost nothing, do they? And also, you remember, I don't know if I noticed that you were particularly new or whatever, but I remember how terrifying it was. And the backstage sort of hierarchy of things sometimes, and I remember to this day comics who are still going now and are now my friends, but I remember the ones that were mean. The ones that were mean early on.
I'm itching now for you to name names, which you're not going to, but I'm just immediately I got this itch going, oh, Joe, tell us. But you often wonder, I never understood that though, when people get to maybe it's just they're in their own head or whatever, but the rudeness thing, the thing that the polar opposite to what you showed me.
I mean, I have it a little bit. People have a real sort of sense of hierarchy in comedy. And I have it a little bit where but basically, I think all young people now are incredibly confident.
Yeah.
And the way they storm into green rooms when they're the open spot, I'm like, oh my God, I would have, waited outside and asked if I could buy, get drinks or clean people's shoes. I just, these people were the adults in the room. But now they come in and they're all, they look at you like, move aside. It's my time now,
They've probably got 100,000 followers, so they're just rocking.
Yeah. But I just sort of always have been sort of nice because I remember that it was quite scary. But I may have to change now because they're all so overconfident. Yeah.
It's an odd moment happened. It was that night. I don't know. No, it was before lockdown. It was not long, and it was the Roisin Dove as well. And I remember coming out the door, and just speak of youthful confidence. And I was coming out the door with a chap. He's kind of goth. He used to do comedy and stuff, and he was coming out. They recognized each other. This girl that was sitting outside the door, and she was rolling like a spitty fag, and she was maybe 21. And she's like, "Hey," he was like, "Hey," and I was looking. But she says, "What were you guys doing in there?" And she said, I was just in to see Tom doing stand-up. I went, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, cool." And just like, no difference whatsoever. And she went, "Yeah, I think I might give that a go."
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God.
No.
Yeah. Nobody's waiting for you, love. No one's waiting for you to do it. Yeah. Why not? Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
It was that throwaway. It was like, no, it's way harder. It's way more important and nerve-wracking than that. You have no feelings inside you at all.
Yeah.
Like, how can you be so confident?
Yeah. But that's got to be sort of on the sociopath spectrum if you feel no fear going on stage.
That's a valid point. I think you might be right there, actually. Yeah.
And sometimes people who are that overconfident, I also think, well, I don't think your observations are going to be very good because you clearly don't see the world as it really is.
The way I'm awesome. Well, I was just wanted to point that out.
Yeah. And sort of no empathy at all. Yeah.
But you'll be sad to hear we've moved away from the house that had the lovely kitchen we have. Well, we've moved back down to my parents' home place onto their farm. So things are like a quarter the price here, and I'm still only an hour and 40 minutes from Dublin. So it's an hour and 40. That's nothing, is it? That's great. Nothing. And we're 50 minutes from Cork, so it's and it's a decent spot. But we moved away. But I do miss that. There was nice stuff. I wish I could have shown you the outside. It was real. It was what it was, a gate lodge.
Oh,
and, it was the gate lodge to what is now Krista Berg's house. For oddity.
How funny.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. Ireland is weird for that though, isn't it?
Yeah.
With pop stars just buying all these old houses. that are still there. Yeah.
It pops up everywhere. Where it's like,
Yeah.
well, Christopher doesn't because he's only 4'5", so you can't actually see him popping up anywhere. But at the same time, I heard he was there.
4'5" in a massive house in a castle. It's too big for you, Chris.
It's ridiculous. But I do like the tongue and groove you've done there. I'm very nosy when it comes to. I used to be a civil engineer, you see, so I'm very nosy when it comes to these things.
These are in Edinburgh. There's a very definite class structure of housing for workers. We are in, these are Victorian, and they're called villas, but they're not actually houses. So this is in Leith. So I think a lot of it was where you lived, where you worked on the docks. Like my old neighbour, she said to me, a sea captain used to live in our house. So I was like,
really?
Sea captain, yeah. And so below us are the colonies, which are lovely. You may have seen them in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
But what they have is they're sort of weirdly like maisonettes, sort of on top of each other. One house has the front and the other house has the back. So you each have a garden, and steps that go up. But your window will look out onto their garden and vice versa.
Right.
And then ours are like this. When we came along this street, I really like the street. And there's not many houses in Edinburgh. There just isn't. It's mostly flats or fuck off enormous houses that we can't afford. Yeah. So I went, oh, these are houses. And then I went, oh, but there's too many doors on this street. And then you realize, oh, there's a front door next to a front door because they're maisonettes. So ours is an upstairs. So when you come in, there's a beautiful staircase, old staircase going up. So people think, and there's a door which leads to the garden, but people think that door leads to like your kitchen or something. But you go up the stairs and then everything is actually on that floor. And then there's, for some reason, massive roof spaces. So everybody's gone up into the roof. So you can make other bedrooms up there. That's where we are. So whoever bought it before, they did the roof thing. But they're nice, and they've got... the gardens they have these Victorian fences that are only like, say, 2 feet high.
Oh, lovely.
Which means that all the gardens at the back are open.
Okay.
But most people now have put up fences. And we are in a row of 5 of us who have not put up big fences. Like people put up 6-foot fences. So you can't, because people want privacy. And then we were like, oh, but it's nice. We've all got each other's gardens.
Yeah, that's cool.
We can chat, we get a lot more light. And then when the lovely lady next door passed away and they sold the flat, then they sold it. And we were like, oh God, what if the people who come in want to put up a fence?
Yeah.
And we're all terrified. And then the first thing I said to the people as they moved in, and I introduced myself, and they said, oh, don't worry, we're not putting up a fence. And I was like, oh, the other neighbours have already got to them.
Brilliant.
Because they're in the middle and that would ruin the whole thing if they put up a fence,
And what was the vibe?
And it's just sort of communal, and especially in lockdown, it was lovely to go out in the gardens, be able to chat to each other.
That's
and
great.
the kids go across all the gardens, and then we were going to go, we'll have to explain to them where these are new people, so you're going to have to ask permission to go in their garden now.
But that's a cool vibe, because you almost don't get that anymore. You certainly wouldn't get it in the likes of London, or you know what I mean. You certainly wouldn't get it. Like it's just walls up, to hell with you.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's a part of you, some days you go, oh God, I'm not in the mood for the chat. But most of the time, it's really, really nice, and it adds to your life more than, just being in your fenced garden.
Yeah, well, it's taking the good with the bad, because that's what supposedly having neighbours is, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I've got great neighbours.
Well, that was that was the oddity of where we lived. We technically lived just outside Dublin in that nice house, but none of the neighbours wanted to talk to anybody. They all just had their electric gates. And I knew it was like this. I knew there was a red flag time to move. And my wife is she's from quite a posh part of Dublin, but she saw Tipperary for the first time when she came down here. It was like, this is where I want to move to. This is proper country.
Oh, is that where you are, Tipperary?
Yeah.
Right. My grandmother, where we used to go to when I was a kid, had a shop in Shore Island in Clonmel.
You know what? I was speaking to my father this evening, and I said, I'm doing a podcast. And he says, oh, who with? And I said, Jo Caulfield. I said, she's the comic in the UK. Caulfield. Well, I'll tell you something now. And he puts 2 and 2 together. I don't know, was it even your grandmother's maiden name? I don't know. But whatever way, he says, is she Irish? I says, well, yeah, she is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure her parents are Irish. This neck of the woods. Straight away, his brain started cogging. I don't know what you're...
And then what's weird is with the Caulfield. So that was the shop in Clonmel, because it's funny, I've got a photo of them outside. Pope was their name, my grandma's name, and the shop was Pope's. And it's right just before the bridge. So you would know it if you know Clonmel where it was. And actually the building is still there because people built it and made it into a nice house. And my grandmother had it with my great aunt when they were sort of in their 70s, and I think they sold nothing really then. They sold
you didn't have to back then. You could just
they had
sell a couple of fags and sweets.
Sweets and fags they had, and it kept them ticking over. But I've got a second cousin who is a comic from Northern Ireland. My mum's family's from Northern Ireland, and my dad's on one side is all from Northern Ireland. William Caulfield, and he's a comic as well, which is really weird. Because someone said to me, "You're not related to William Caulfield." I went, weirdly, I am. Yeah. Really? Yeah. And he's a little more mainstream. And we were probably the same age, but I would say he's more mainstream. Like we're friends on Facebook. He'd just put up on Facebook, he was doing a saga cruise, and he does a lot of theatre, like he did Panto. He does Wee Jimmy character.
Right.
So it's more old school Irish, quite local stuff, so different. Lovely, lovely guy, but just weird to go, isn't that weird? That because we didn't get to know each other until I went over to gig in Belfast, and he got in touch and said, let's meet up. Like when we were in our 40s or something. It's just weird that we're both comics. Yeah.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Because I'm just excited now because I want to tell him the name of the shop, because it's
Pope. Because there was a lot of them. They had that, their parents obviously had it for years and years and years. And where it's one of those things where you go, oh, something happened around like the Civil War time, because my grandmother and her sister moved up to Belfast in 1926. And when they died and we were clearing out the shop, we found lots of mounted pictures of, proper taken photographs of Tipperary IRA. Lots of those photos. Then lots of also photos of De Valera. We were going, was it like a lower low, where when people came in the shop, they would have to go and put the right picture up, because we thought there's a story here, but we don't know, that they would just look, we're trying to sell to everybody. How can we do that?
That is our sisters.
And then they went up to Belfast, stayed there for 40 years, and then came back down again when they kind of retired. Yeah, but the shop was always there. Their parents ran it, and my uncle Eddie, great uncle Eddie, he had a bicycle repair place around there as well. So he would do, so people would know him. And my great uncle Jack, everybody knew him in the pubs because he was a horse racing guy. In terms of, he bet on the horses, that was his job.
Right,
that's all he ever did. And so everybody would know, but I think he would be like a bookies runner and do odd jobs for people, when there was races to go to or bets to be put on and that. So they were all kind of a bit mad, and did odd things. And
I've a handful of kind of well-known Tipperary people that I've had on this podcast. I put it to him. I said, is there madness in us? Because anywhere I've ever gone, they've all agree, and they've all, like, one guy, he played rugby for the Lions, he played he played for Ireland, and he said, I thought they were being racist to me at first. He said, when I but as soon as they heard he was from Tipperary, he went, oh, you're all mad bastards, because there's because that Civil War thing is still there. It's still kind of wired in, where you're ready to move to the mountains if you gotta, what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there was weird things, because then my dad was in the RAF, which was very weird, to be Catholic in Northern Ireland and then go and join the RAF, like in the sort of mid-60s. But he always had a thing that this was in the 70s, because I am very old. But my mum was like, oh, we know the plan. This was the Cold War. When the siren goes on the base, my dad was always like, get in the car, drive to Ireland. That was always our plan, was get in the car, drive to Ireland. And it was always like, well, we'll get straight to Fishguard, go to Holyhead, get over to Ireland, and we had our way out. And my mum was all like, I don't know what the English people are going to do.
Hold on. So you had like preppers, like bug out plan and everything ready to like.
Yeah. When the Russians come, this is the plan. Yeah.
Because they won't touch Ireland. Nobody touches Ireland.
No, it'll be fine.
It's fine. But Ireland is much like your grandparents' shop. I think if you look deep into the history, they've played it smart on both sides. They've kind of gone, it's okay. Like they kept Nazi prisoners of war in the Curragh camp, but like they had a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Now they said, look, we bugged their rooms so we could plumosed them, as they would say in Irish. We just plumosed them and just gave them tea and all the stuff they needed just to get stuff out of them, because they figured, well, what's the point in keeping them in terrible? Now it's at the same time there was an argument. Well, you're keeping them in really good stead there. Like they're doing really. But we're the Irish. We're supposed to be the land of 1,000 welcomes. Come on.
And then I was reading something, and I thought maybe that's what they were doing. It was a lady that nobody would suspect who was running messages.
Yeah.
And she ran a little shop, and I thought, God, maybe they were doing that then, but nobody. So that's where they were putting up their pictures of the right people for the right time and things, because they were also running, and go, oh, here's your bread, and there's, whatever inside it and all of that. So yeah, who knows?
But it's funny when you speak, you still, Thompson, like I can still hear a hint of an Irish accent in you, because I've heard you do an Irish accent and you nail it. You absolutely, like, it's very rare to meet somebody, but then you find out your parents were Irish, of course. Like, but like Zoe Lyons does a good one as well.
Yes, she's very good. Yeah.
Did you get the Irish passport?
Yes. Yeah, I got it quite early on because I was so enraged by Brexit. I thought, well, I'm getting it just on principle to say that I haven't left.
It was that prepper thought in your head, wasn't it? You were like, get to Fishguard, get to wherever I got to go.
That's it. Yeah. So I got the Irish passport, and it was simple. I think because I did it early, they weren't quite so inundated with them. And also living in Scotland, because the form, I was thinking, there's some bits I don't know how to do. And then, of course, it said, there's a post office, only two in the whole, there's one in Liverpool and one in Glasgow, where they do kind of speedy get your Irish passport here.
Of course. Glasgow and Liverpool,
Of course. So I actually went over through to Glasgow, and because I had actually done it wrong, and did it at the counter, and they checked everything, and I had to go and get a gas bill photocopied or something, and they did it there and then. And I was like, oh, of course there is here. So, and so many people I know, if they can find, one grandparent, they've done it, to get the Irish passport. Yeah.
Of course, why not? It's the no trouble free, easy. Yeah, I know. It was kind of a running kind of silly fest at the beginning. When you heard the Brexit and stuff, and they're actually past it, isn't this? But then as it got, you felt sorry. You were like, what? How did this? Because I had so many friends. I actually had I had a business, UK business, involved with two friends of mine, and we had to cut ties because of Brexit screwed it. We couldn't get public liability insurance for it because it was like, sorry guys, sorry.
Oh, it still infuriates me. It's one of those, like a double take thing where I go, oh my God, did we do that? Oh my God. And also people that was weird that we were in our own bubbles, because nobody I know, except one person I was at school with. And then when I looked at her timeline, all her friends were very pro-Brexit. And they are all of a certain type, definitely. They're not just that they're a Tory, but they're just that little Englander thing, that like who've always believed for some reason Europe is a problem,
Yeah.
And it's all bullshit, absolute bullshit. And what was very weird was some friends of mine who are from Northern Ireland, but they've lived here a long time. And I was going, how could you want to put up borders?
Yeah.
It always leads to trouble. Don't do it. They had been gone so long, I think, that they didn't. I just couldn't believe that they couldn't see that this was going to cause trouble.
Yeah, I spoke with a guy, and he's actually an Orangeman as well, and he voted, for Brexit. I was like, he was like, but How does that make any sense? He was working for us. Actually, he was doing some. It was an experiences company, and he says, no, it's for Queen, and the Queen doesn't give a fuck.
No.
What are you talking about? She certainly
Queen's
doesn't give a
German. Yes.
Yeah, and she sure as shit doesn't give a fuck
from their roots.
Yeah, she sure as shit doesn't give a fuck about any of you.
No.
But that's all he needed. Just one little sliver of, it'll make you a loyal servant if you do this. He didn't put it into thought of anything. So, Northern Irish farmers now have to bring their milk over the border and sell it now just under the line, because you can sell to Europe when you sell your milk via Ireland. You know. So even ones that would be, an uncle of mine now, he's kind of involved in politics when it comes to farming, and he's speaking with these guys, and they'd be known as loyalists, but they're going, fuck this. Fuck this. This doesn't make any sense
at all.
I mean, you can only assume it's a money-based thing for the very wealthy. It's somewhere. Somebody's hiding money somewhere. That's the only thing I can imagine, because it doesn't make any sense. Why drive it otherwise? Somebody like that.
Well, that was the thing they said. David Cameron thought, and it's exactly that. All those people who wanted an unregulated city and to be able to move money all here, there, and everywhere. And he was like, "Oh well, we'll do that." And that was for those people, and it's fucked us, And it's also. It's embarrassing. I just think the whole of Europe is going, God, what is wrong with those people? They're just awful. How rude of them to not want to be in the club and then be so unpleasant about it as well. Oh, God.
I think I thankfully there is such a broad media now that you do see, and being in Europe and stuff, again, another brother-in-law lives in Brussels, and they do know, they realized that it was an anomaly that happened. They were like, fuck they're feeling sorry now for the poor people. They're like, those poor bastards over there it's like having the weirdo cousin that gets to go out front of the family all the time. You're like, oh Christ, not again.
And it's just over and over again there's problems, and over again you're like, if only we were in some sort of union with Europe, so that we could move and trade and it's just it's too infuriating. Yeah, so I live in Scotland, so we're waiting to see what will happen there. But that's all confusing as well, because you don't know because there's no guarantee of being allowed in, so into Europe.
And also it's how they peddle it. And I'll never forget, years ago, I was at the Fringe again, and I was finished my show, and I was going over to meet somebody for a drink, and I got chatting with a Scottish comic, young guy. We were just chatting, and the vote was happening for independence at the time for Scotland. And I said, because you're obviously, just in my head, assuming everybody was Braveheart, going, of course you want independence. And this guy was like, so there's a lot of people. We got to change our money. Fucking change our money. And mate, I'm like, oh, fucking hell. All right. Okay. So they'd sold him the image in his head that it was going to be just too messy. Just too messy. Just stay where you are. It's fine. It was a weird time then, because nearly everybody I knew, especially like comics or creative people, were very pro-independence. But they would sort of become, it was like born-again Christians. They were so full of hope, and there was no argument you could put up against it, because they would just like go to the Bible and go, but look, this blue book that they had says this and that and the other. And I was kind of, I don't really know. I think because of my background, both my parents being from mixed marriages, I'm very against putting up borders and messing with stuff. But, and I'm not nationalistic really, but I was, and it's not my country. So you haven't even put a fence up at the back of your house. You're that much of a liberal person.
I'm so open borders, aren't I?
Just take the door off the hinges, take the door off. We're just, let him through.
But people were literally running up Arthur's Seat with the saltire, just craziness. But I envied them, because it was so like, what a great dawn, that's new tomorrow. But always those things are slightly scary. When anybody is that nationalistic, it's slightly scary. And then afterwards, they literally, friends of mine were in tears, and I had to take it seriously. And I was like, oh no, it must be awful for you. It's terrible. But at the same time I was going, you couldn't afford it. What the fuck? You need your housing benefit. You get that from London. you know.
Yeah.
No.
So
we'll see. It's exciting. I mean, at the moment, I would be happy for that because England has become so horrible.
It's I can tell you from an Irish point of view, the Irish news, nothing's happening here at the moment, by the way.
Yeah.
They are loving.
Guess what those fuckers are up to now?
They are, if there's nothing Irish news loves more than England doing weird shit. They're like, should we do Andrew today or Boris? Which weird posh inbred fucker will we do today?
Exactly. Yeah, he's fucking the young ladies. Boris is partying all night in lockdown. It's ridiculous. And the thing today, he said he's had all weekend to think of a good reason. And he said nobody told him that those drinks parties were illegal. Just like, it's so insulting. That's the best you've come up with. You've had all weekend and all your advisors. And that's what they've come up with. You know, something a 5-year-old would come up with, isn't it?
I didn't know.
I didn't know. When you said no parties, you meant like no parties?
And I often hark back to like friends that are kind of I'd say friends, but they're married to my posh wife's friends,
right?
You know, and they live in London and stuff. And they go, well, you know, like this was strange during they're all in a group chat as people tend to be or whatever. And when Boris had COVID that time, they were actually calling him Boris. They're like, poor Boris has. I'm going, you're from Dublin. What the fuck do you care about Boris if his head explodes? You know, but speaking with them, their husbands, anytime I was over there, and they speak about, you know, in almost in, isn't it great this establishment we have? I'm like, no, the class system, the way it's set up, how could you honestly look at him and go, oh, he represents us perfectly? He looks like a walking haystack, went to Eton. So went to Eton tells you everything you need to know. Yeah. They know nothing about the rest of the world.
No, not at all. And the horrible thing is that it's gotten worse. So in Britain, and when I say Britain, it is mostly England.
Yeah.
That people in power, it was becoming less and less and less. You know, Eton and Harrow and all of that Oxbridgeness. I think there was somebody, some politician, famous politician, it was about 40 years ago, and he said, well, I knew I could never be prime minister because I went to Eton, and those days are over. And now, so back. The people in power, in judges, in the army, it's all those bloody people. And they don't know. They think alcohol comes in suitcases.
The only time I was ever exposed to it was we went to a party it wasn't far from, I know it wasn't a long drive from the East Midlands airport. I'm not fully sure where, but it was friends of ourselves, and they had come back from America for a week. And rather than just saying, hey, everybody want to meet up in a pub, we're home, they rented this manor for a weekend, you know, butlers and every fucking thing. Like, and I went, we have to go to this because I'm going to stick out like a sore thumb. This is going to be great. And we went, and you could tell these guys, like, they all went to Harrow, you know, and they were like guys in their 30 years of age wearing a dicky bow, non-ironically. You know, you're going, what the fuck is that?
Yes.
You know, you're standing there, like, you know, hand on hip, trying to discuss politics, and you're like, dude, you're 30. You shouldn't give a shit about this. But a couple of the older folk, like, almost everybody there had never met anybody from Ireland. And I could literally hear, this is Pims on the Green, like, you know, and I could hear people talking like,
clocking your accent.
Bloody Irish, bloody. And I'm loving it because I'm gonna go over and talk to him, and let's see what we have to say. And there was a guy, I got sat at a table because it was like a mini wedding, and he was one of the Whitbreads. You know, they owned all the breweries. And,
yeah.
Man, did he hate me. It was beautiful how much he hated me. He just kept on trying to fire, you know, just comments. What are the Irish? I don't know what the fuck you're saying, dude. Honestly, you've been drinking since, and he was drunk in the middle of the day. He was a drunk, because you know, he'd nothing to live for because he was too wealthy. I said, dude, you've been drinking since noon, so just, you know. And the wife hated him. They hated each other. It was brilliant to see it. It was just glorious. I was basking in these people's weirdness for 2 days. We got them really, really drunk that night, myself and my wife. We depth charged all their drinks because they were drinking drinks that we weren't allowed from the bar. Oh. Whitbread had brought his own blend or whatever for all the guys who went, all the Harrow boys. So the kid behind the bar, he was a nice kid. He was working class, but he was trained to be a pilot in the RAF. And I went, do me a favor, will you? Because I asked for one of these bottles. Went, sorry, Mr. Whitbreads only. They're all those pop cork ones. I said, I'll give you 50 quid if you depth charge every one of those at 2 tequilas.
Wow.
And your man went, keep your money. I'm going to depth charge him with 3. Fuck him. By the end of the night, Joe, we had him singing rebel songs. They didn't know what they were doing. It was one of the funniest things. They were calling "Come Out, You Black and Tan." They didn't know what it meant. So it's a spectacle from this side to watch it, but almost in disbelief because we've all have so many connections. Like my 2 sisters were born in the UK, you know, that kind of way. So it's
yeah.
So it is, again, it's kind of like the weird cousin. You're going, oh, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just stay quiet.
Bring back
the guy that fucked the pig's head. That guy. He wasn't even that weird.
I know, isn't that strange that he's not the weirdest?
Yeah.
Or the worst? Yeah. And it is that awful thing. It's like we're sort of living up to the stereotype of what people think British people are now. And I don't know. I feel sorry for young people because they're now going to grow up in a completely different kind of a country. You know,
it'll be interesting to see what it turns out.
Yeah.
Yeah, what it does turn out. It could be a complete adverse effect. It could be a rebellion on the. You don't know what's on the cards.
Yeah.
Tell me this.
All split up, which is all my places because also I was born in Wales. You see, so I'll have.
Oh yeah.
So I think I'll be split all over the place.
You've had a look at all of it. So
yeah.
Republic, Northern Ireland, Wales, England, and it's why not?
Now I live in Scotland. Yeah.
Isle of Man at all for the crack, just to have a look, no?
No, I've been there. I've been there once, doing a really weird gig, which was a women's fun night. It was called.
Oh, do tell! That sounds amazing.
In a nightclub that is famous in Douglas because everyone always. Is it called the Gala or something like that? Big club place, and there was all female comics, and then they had like a sort of male striptease people, Chippendale-ish, but cheaper because
not at the same time. Not at the same time because that would be an amazing.
We did our show, and then these guys went on, and oh my god, I felt so sorry for them because these women were so drunk and so mean, and. Because one of the guys was the driver and he said, I don't strip anymore. You know, I'm in my mid-40s and I'm just a driver, but one of the guys can't do it. So I've got to do my old act. And it was so tragic. So they did a thing. They would do it like a dance routine, bit of a strip together as an ensemble. And then they all have their own speciality act. And when he did his, they booed him. It was horrible. Well, these women just booed him. I'm going, get off. Don't get them off. Get off. It was, oh, my God. Women are awful. Because I think when men watch strippers, they're very polite. They just can't believe they're allowed to watch these ladies taking their clothes off. I think they're generally quite nice about it, I think. But the women were atrocious. Yeah. And also a thing happened where to this day, maybe I'm just very naive. But a guy, he does a thing where he's a doctor. That's his dance.
Hello.
And he wears like a white coat. And he gets a woman from the audience. If there's children listening, don't.
There won't be.
A woman from the audience comes up and dances. And then he says, oh, you better go check my stethoscope, which is inside his coat. And she stays under there and gives him a blowjob.
On stage?
Yes, because I said, this is how tragic it was. We were all, these words, in the same B&B. So in the morning, the strippers were there having their cornflakes at the B&B. And I said, it looked like that's what happened. And he goes, yes, sometimes they don't, but most of the time, the women will give him a blowjob. Honest to God. Yeah. I was genuinely shocked. And then what really made me laugh was he said, oh, they're really pumped up and they're with their mates. They're usually drunk. He goes, well, he said, but sometimes you just want to do your act. You don't want the blowjob. Isn't that great? And I was like, oh, I know what you mean. You just, some days you just go, not in the mood. Just do my act and let me go. Get back to my B&B.
I'm a professional. Come on. Just let me, because we've all had them gigs. Okay, not when we get a blowy on stage in front of everybody, but you just want to get through it. You just want to get.
Well, that can be a bit like that after a gig, can't it? When people want to have a chat and they want to buy you drinks and be social, and they don't realise that actually you don't want that. You're quite tired now, and when you're travelling, I do really just want to go back to my hotel because, I'm watching, Walking Dead or whatever it is you've loaded up for yourself in your kind of home time back there. And also, I think, well, they think you're going to be that person, that loud, funny person, and I'm not. And then I could just see the disappointment as they go.
I know, because I typically, I would drive to gigs, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna. Can I not get you? No. Oh, do you know who ruins it for comedians who actually does rock stars? It's Tom Stade.
Oh yeah, there are people that do that. Yeah,
like I did a mini tour with Tom Stade, and Jesus Christ, I wasn't right for about a month after it, like, because he's intense. Like, he said, Tommy, like, he rang me at 6:00 in the morning as I'm getting on the flight to ask me what beer I wanted in the house. I went, Tom, that's not really it's not necessary. Tommy, you need. And that night we did the stand, and I was like, Tom, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
you've been piping me with drink all day. I never normally drink when I'm gigging, but I got through it, and now you want me to smoke weed. Yeah, and now you want to party with all your fans. I'm like, dude. And it was a weird one because the stand, obviously, as you would know, it's a glorious place, but there's strange people come see Tom Stade. Like one couple, she was a prostitute, and but he was, I don't know what he said he did, but she was the breadwinner. But it was just this open, I'm a prostitute, because we're like, well, what did you do in a previous life? I said, I was in construction, I was a civil engineer, and he was like, oh, I have a brother who's an architect. Yeah. And she just pipes up with, and I'm a prostitute. I went, and you're just supposed to deal with that normally. You went, lovely.
That's the thing sometimes as well, because you're dealing with drunk people then after a show, and sometimes it's like, well, this can turn quickly sometimes, because also there's something maybe about being a comic that they presume that you think you're fucking it. That you think you're the bee's knees, and they want to sort of bring you down a peg or two in a weird way.
Yeah.
And you're just going, oh God, you've so got me wrong, or they're really dull. And then you go, and they just want to talk about all their favorite comedians. And I'm like, I know Sarah Millican is funny. Yes, I do wish I was her. Yes, tell me more about her.
Well, when did you discover the beautiful silly? You know what I mean? Because you've always had but there is a beautiful silliness to being a comedian. Like, when did you know what I mean? Was that growing up at home? Were they gas
I think it was that thrill when I always got a thrill when I'd done or said something funny, and you realize that, that made them laugh. That's a thing I can do. And I enjoyed if we get deep, I suppose the love you get when you've made people laugh, and they're like, oh, isn't she great? She did that, and it's just a nice feeling, I think. Yeah. And also I think with comics, when you say the silly, I see sometimes comics I'm going, oh God, don't take yourself so seriously. Like, there's a weird thing with comics. I think that obviously comedy, if you want to do it well, you have to take it seriously.
Yeah.
It is work. But people should never know that.
No.
Never
That's
take yourself
what
seriously.
Yeah.
Hide that.
Yeah. That this is what we're like all the time. Of course.
Yeah.
I did a gig a couple of weeks ago, because our gigs at the minute, there's a weird 8:00 shutting time, so it's screwing all the gigs at the minute. It's a very strange thing. But I was in the north.
But it's weird that it adapts. And when we've got it at 10 here, and some gigs were starting early, so they did like a 5:30 show on the Saturday, and it was great because people just adapt. They're ahead.
I think a lot of the clubs just won't chance it. They're like, fuck it, no, we'll just wait. We'll wait it out until after the Christmas. They're just seeing. But it was funny. I did a gig in Newry last week, and I was speaking with the green room area of it, and there was a very nice elderly lady there. She was serving tea. Fantastic. I mean, copious. She brought me out like one of those catering pots of tea. She's like, you'll have a tea, Tom. I was like, Oh,
Love her.
it was amazing and really good, strong tea too. She was like,
Yeah.
And I was speaking because she was a lovely lady and I'd met her before. She was just fantastic, very funny, interesting stories. And then I went on stage and I did my set and came off, and you could see her. She visibly kind of changed with me. She was like, "Oh, I wasn't ready for the change up there."
Yeah,
She was funny how she vocalized it, and she was a smart enough woman to be able to vocalize to it. That was you just said, because literally she was behind me. I went, "Okay, I see in a minute. I'm just going to go on here."
Yeah.
And
What
then,
a nice young man. Oh, then,
Yeah.
Then it's different.
And that was the look. I'm something kind of hurt though from that. I was like, oh, it's like hurting your nana or something. It was like, I didn't mean to. Sorry, did I frighten you? I'll have more tea if that's okay.
Yes. Oh my God, it's 7:50.
Oh God, am I keeping you up? I wanted to wish. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's only because I didn't realise. Well, I did realise, and then I was like, oh, I've fucked this up slightly, because I'm doing Zoom drinks with 2 friends tonight.
Oh, great.
So they've started 7:45. They start, so they'll go. Oh, where's Jo? What is she doing? No, because I didn't say I might be late. So that's...
you can, just blame this fucking bloke in Tipperary who was just talking about tea and agriculture.
And where exactly are you? I want to know.
I am from. I'm technically in a place called the Glen of Aherlow, so we're by the Galtee Mountains. But again, it's ridiculously picturesque. I brought my parents-in-law around the other day, and they'd lived in the UK for years, so they really love everything about Ireland because they're away for so long and they're back again.
Yeah, and then you go, oh, it is greener. That's what I think every time I go. Do you know it is greener? Yes.
There is a lot of unspoiled lands around, and I like it is. There's a few spots you can bring anybody, and I don't care who they are. Their jaw would hit the ground. You're like, oh Christ, this is stunning. But I'm about 5 miles outside the town of Cahir, so between Cashel and Cahir. So there's castles everywhere, all around us, really. Yeah. So I'm going straight up to Dad and asking him about Pope's shop. I guarantee you, he will know about it. Little general store it used to be, and then when they did it again, I think it was just sweets and fags. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be in Clonmel in the next 2 days, and I'm going to find the building and take a picture and send it to you. Oh yes. Yeah. Oh well, I'll send you the photo that I've got, because I've got it on that I found at home recently of them outside the shop. So I'll brilliant! Do that. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Before you go, I do want to congratulate you. You won the Comic of 2021 award. That's a cool award to win. That is a good one. That's a cool one. That's a super cool one. Obviously, as someone who doesn't win awards, I think awards are useless and I don't believe in them. Yeah. And then you go, oh, but that's comics and club owners. That's properly. That's what you want to impress. Yeah. It's just annoying. I had to share it with 2 other people, with Ninia and Mark Nelson, not Mark Watson. Nelson. No, you don't. So then you were like, oh, could you not have decided? Yeah. No, really. Don't make this a participation award. Just tell me. I'm the best, aren't I? I'm the best. Yeah, I'm the best. Yeah. No, that was a nice little start to the year. Yeah, because totally unexpected, because I don't follow that particularly, because I never win anything, so I'm not looking to see who's winning what. But no, comic award-winning Jo Caulfield. Thank you very, very much for being on Bookshop. This has been brilliant. Thank you. Really fun chat, and I will send you that photo now. Yeah. Thanks a million, Jo. Right. Have a good evening. Bye-bye. Cheers. Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much, Jo. What an absolute legend. Go check out her website to see any dates you might be able to catch her, but I'm sure she'll be back around, possibly in, you'd never know, she might be back to Galway. Thanks a million, Jo. Legend. Anyway, April 23rd, Belfast, Limelight. Get there. Myself and Kieran Bartlett will be tearing it up with my brand new show, Clattered. Live show for the Patreons will be the end of the month, last Saturday. Bring your drinks, or I'll bring them for everybody and get drunk for everybody. You know what to do. Rate it if you can on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Take a screen grab even. I'm listening to it. I'm loving that. People are sending me screen grabs of them listening to it. Nice little note just to let them know. People are writing me messages and stuff. It's been great to know that people are enjoying the podcast. Right. I'll be back next week for the Patrons with another Ramble Pod. There's more in the pipeline of other stuff, but sure, we'll tell you about that when 'tis closer to the time. Till then, have a lovely weekend. Get a ticket for the Limelight show. And I'll talk to you again next week. Good luck, bless, thanks.